Hello, my name is Sam Evans, and for my sixth Sports Medicine 3 project, I was given the topic of medical journal, and I decided to focus on CTE. So, what is CTE? CTE, or chronic traumatic encephalopathy, is a progressive degenerative brain disease found in athletes and others with a history of repetitive head trauma, typically caused by symptomatic concussions as well as asymptomatic subconcussive hits to the head over time. CTE is associated with development of dementia and closely related to Alzheimer's disease. However, there's a few differences between the two. So, how do you diagnose CTE? Unfortunately, CTE can only be diagnosed after death when an autopsy can reveal whether the known brain changes of CTE are present using brain tissue analysis. When CTE is suspected, a thorough medical history, brain imaging, and more may be used to rule out other causes. So, how do you treat CTE? As of right now, there is no cure or treatment for CTE, but certain medicines may be used to temporarily treat some of the symptoms of CTE, including memory and thinking and behavioral symptoms. CTE is basically broken down into 4 different stages. During stage 1 of CTE, a patient may complain of mild short term memory defects, depressive symptoms, as well as mild aggressive symptoms. In stage 2, mood and behavioral symptoms are more severe and may include explosive behavioral outbursts and more severe depressive symptoms. During stage 3, patients show all these symptoms but much worse than before. And finally, in stage 4, patients have profound language defects, psychotic symptoms such as paranoia, as well as motor defects and Parkinson's disease, which is not good. As you can see in the picture here, to the left we have a normal brain, and then to the right we have a brain that has suffered advanced CTE, or stage 4 CTE. Not many people make it to stage 4. History of CTE. CTE was first described in 1928 when Dr. Harrison Martland described a group of boxers as having punch-drunk syndrome. Over the next 75 years, several doctors reported similar findings in boxers and victims of head brain trauma. In 2005, a doctor named Bennett Amalu published the first evidence of CTE in an American football player named Mike Webster. Dr. Amalu then fought with the NFL to spread awareness on the disease, but no one listened till later in his career when more NFL players were dying from CTE. One thing Dr. Amalu said that I found very interesting was he was talking about when he opened up the skull of Mike Webster and he noticed that the brain looked completely normal. He was expecting to see a brain with Alzheimer's disease features, such as a brain that is shriveled and ugly looking. However, when he opened the skull, Mike's brain looked completely normal. I thought this was very interesting because it really just shows that CTE can only be determined when a person is dead because it is more of inside the brain. So who is Mike Webster? Mike Webster was a center for the Pittsburgh Steelers, and after his football career ended a few years later, he went crazy. He got CTE due to a lot of head collisions from playing for the Steelers. He died September 24th, 2002 at the age of 50 due to a major heart attack. But what truly killed Mike Webster is CTE. So what happens when someone has CTE? In CTE, a protein called tau formed clumps that slowly spread throughout the brain, killing brain cells. Tau is formed up from repetitive head trauma. So what is tau? Tau is a protein in our brain cells that forms part of a structure called microtubule. One of the functions of the microtubule is to help transport nutrients from other important substances from one part of the nerve cell to another. So what are some symptoms of CTE? Early symptoms of CTE usually appear in patients' late 20s or 30s and affect a patient's mood and behavior. But CTE has been seen in people as young as 17 years old. Some common changes include control problems, aggression, depression, and psychotic thoughts and paranoia. As the disease progresses, some patients may experience problems with thinking and memory, confusion, impaired judgment, and eventually progressive dementia. These more severe symptoms generally first appear in patients' late 40s and 50s, and in some cases, symptoms worsen with time. In other cases, symptoms may be stable for years but worsen later on. These changes in the brain can begin months, years, or even decades after the last brain trauma or end of active athletic involvement. So, where are we now with CTE? As of right now, we have no cure for CTE. There is treatment only to treat some of the symptoms of CTE, and we are only able to diagnose CTE in the dead. We are working on different ways to diagnose CTE in the living, which can then lead to the cure. So, what about the future of CTE? As of right now, we are talking about a few things, but we have never tested it on a living person. But in the future, doctors are hoping that we can diagnose CTE in the living using PET scan. Basically, what a PET scan is it's able to detect the tau protein levels in the brain, and then it compares to those similar found in the brains of the deceased people who have been diagnosed with CTE after death to see if the tau levels are much higher in the living than they have CTE. Being able to diagnose CTE in the living can then lead to a cure. Doctors have already been talking about a cure using gene therapy to cure CTE. Basically, what gene therapy is the newly developed adeno-associated virus vector that can deliver a tau antibody directly to the brain, significantly reducing tau levels associated with CTE. So, what are some facts about CTE? CTE is most commonly found in football, soccer, boxers, hockey, and military veterans. Estimated 80% of NFL players have or will have CTE in the future. Percents have recently been dropping just due to the more advanced helmets. However, CTE is still a major problem in NFL. There was a research test done around 2017, and of 202 NFL brains studied, 177 of them had CTE. That just shows how high the CTE rates are in the NFL. The highest cause of death with mild CTE is suicide. So, pretty awful. Thank you for watching. Have a great day.